the touch screen, there's not, it's not like there's a lot of touchscreen optimization here in terms of getting into the lower level or the sub menus in the applications. It's really like the 5800, it's like S60 with some, a home screen, new home screen, and the widgets, and then, down in here it's kind of like you can click on things with your fingers, but it's not really touch optimized. It works fine, but for me it's not all that compelling. Performance, was good. Again, the QWERTY board, worked fine. One of the things about the 5800 that bothered me was that you got a dedicated menu key here, which is nice. So one of the things I found about the 5800 that was frustrating was that for me the on-screen virtual QWERTY boards were just a nightmare. There were just a few different few different options, and none of them really worked well for me. None of them were easy to use, certainly not finger friendly. So, the big difference between the 5800 and the N97 for me isn't the higher spec camera, isn't all the storage, isn't the widgets on front, it's the keyboard. And for me, the 5800 I could use if I used it in T9 mode, just using the phone keypad for writing messages. On the N97, you've got a full-on keyboard. And like I said, even though I don't understand some of the choices as far as, only 3 rows and the spacebar over on the right, it actually works pretty well. I actually think that the spacebar on the right was probably, for right-handed users, because it's, your thumb can kind of pull back easily to the right here. But I just put it in the center so you can use it with either thumb, and you can do two-fingered typing, or, lefties. It's a little easier for lefties. But that being said, it worked well enough. You can see the spacebar, a little bit of trouble. The action is very short on the keys, but I got used to it when I tested it heavily for 3 days in a row, just carrying it around, using it all day, every day. I definitely got used to the keyboard. But then, since then, having the chance to test some new phones and going kind of back and forth between phones, I just, I'm not thrilled with the keyboard on this device. Certainly not a deal breaker, but you compare the N97 in front here, just the keyboard, to a couple other devices, new devices on the market. Not comparing the phones, just the keyboard. You've got the HTC Touch Pro 2, a Windows mobile smartphone, and you've got the LG NV Touch, which is a Verizon messaging phone. And you look, these are similar. Obviously, the form factor, they're all three rather. The clamshell type, slightly different. These two are more like sliders. This one's more like a horizontal clamshell. But you look at the keyboards, and the Touch Pro 2 here, just bigger buttons. This is a 5-row keyboard, so for the power user, you've got a lot more options in terms of, more spacing on the keys, slightly larger keys, a little more travel, the actual action of the keys. You've got a dedicated numerical row. You've got shortcut buttons. But for typing, just more room to move around and everything. And the actual device, it is a little bit bigger, but it's not all that much bigger. And part of that is because of the sliding mechanism. This phone slides all the way back and then tilts up. Whereas the Nokia, because of the sliding mechanism, you've got almost half of the phone here from front to back, somewhere between a third and a half given over to this sliding mechanism. And then you look at the NV Touch, and this is a clamshell phone, so different, but again, if you just look in terms of the hardware engineering, this is roughly the same size, the NV Touch and the N97. And the NV Touch affords a much larger internal keyboard with a full-on D-pad and everything, because of just the way that it's designed and constructed. And again, I'm not comparing the phones per se, but I'm just saying the choices that were made in terms of design and engineering to me, leave the N97 with an inferior keyboard when you compare it to some of the other devices on the market that offer larger keyboards, 4 or 5 rows, more flexible tilting options. Actually, you can get these phones at different angles to use them, whereas the N97 only goes to one angle. And then you've also got dedicated, shortcut keys for, here on the Touch Pro 2, you've got shortcut keys for messaging. And there's your D-pad. Actually, I said there's no D-pad, but there actually is a D-pad down here on the right. It's just part of the keyboard. Dedicated numerical keys, shift lock key. Over here on the NV Touch, you've got again a favorites key, a dedicated messaging key. your full-on D-pad. You've got 2 soft keys up here, dedicated call, send, clear buttons, speakerphone buttons. So, just choices that were made that make me kind of scratch my head with the N97. I'm not going to go too into depth with the Symbian operating system because it's been around for a while. The web browser works well, but at this point, it's like, the other kids on the block have caught up. A couple of years ago, when I reviewed the E70, it was just amazing, what the Nokia web browser could do. And now, it still works fine, but the other contenders have caught up with other WebKit-based browsers and Opera and Skyfire. But the browser works pretty well, and you've got your the touchscreen. Again, it's resistive, but it is very responsive. And you've got a feed manager, which is great. Lots of things you can do. Some of the things I like about the Symbian S60 platform, the podcasting apps. You can catch all your podcasts, which is very cool. Obviously, there are a ton of third-party applications out there for doing everything from live video casting over Quick to secure email and secure communications, all kinds of communication, email and messaging and IRC, and just everything under the sun you can think of on the N90 on the Symbian everything you can do in the mobile world. I'm trying to say just about you can do in the Symbian ecosystem, which is great. The device looks good when used for watching video clips. We'll play this N97 home screen video so you can see. 3.5mm headphone jack on the side. So the stereo speakers work fairly well, and hooked up to a pair of good headphones sounds great. The phone, the multitasking works very well on the device. That's one of Symbian's strong points. The battery is tremendous. No worries about battery draining down using this phone all day. Always a hallmark of Nokia. Voice quality was very good. I had some issues with AT&T, running an AT&T in this area, and that's AT&T issues. But, not the best Nokia I've ever tried in terms of voice quality, but definitely solid. Speakerphone worked pretty well. Again, just because I'm comparing, you get a device like the Touch Pro 2 that's got this new full duplex speakerphone where you flip the phone over, speakerphone automatically engages, very easy to add participants to the call, and you've got a little mute button there as well. Just some innovations going on with some of the other companies that Nokia is not really keeping up with. And so again, Symbian fans are going to be like, dude, the phone works, what are you talking about? Comparing to what's going on in the market, definitely the N97 is functional, it's just not keeping up with the times when you compare it to the other devices. Front-facing camera for video calling, secondary usage, light sensor as well, and then in the back you've got the 5-megapixel camera, autofocus, flash, video capture. Actually not the best performing Nokia camera. For 5-megapixel camera, I actually thought the original N95 maybe outperformed this just a little tiny bit. Not a huge difference, but certainly not on par with the N85, N86 series with the higher performance cameras. And again, or not again, I should say, because I didn't say this out loud, but the thing with these camera phones with megapixels, unless you're going to print large format photos, really the photo quality matters much more than the number of megapixels. If you're just using these to share over email or post to online sites and blogs and that kind of thing, 2 megapixel, 3.2 megapixel, 5 megapixel, doesn't matter. How big is your computer monitor really? So this is where, again, I point back to the Express Music 5800, which, if you don't need the QWERTY board, offers a lot of what the N97 does, just slightly trumped down specs, not all the internal storage, but at a much cheaper price point. So, something to consider for sure. The phone, as we showed in the unboxing video, comes with, a bunch of stuff. Got a kind of an oddly shaped stylus, which, who's going to carry this thing around? This is just sort of bizarre. I don't know why Nokia. I feel like this is the kind of thing that actually hurts Nokia's cause, because you open this up and you look at it and you think, what kind of a phone am I buying that I need to use this huge, ugly, weird, flat, wide stylus with? The stylus did work pretty well with the phone when I used it, but, I put all this stuff back in the box after I used it. The remote is kind of nice. You can plug headphones directly into the phone, or you can use the remote. Lets you manage your calls and your music. Got a little belt, tie clip. Got the, volume control on the side. This is typical Nokia. It's not particularly sleek. It's kind of bulky. It's not super attractive because to me it is kind of bulky and stands out and kind of geeky, but it's very functional and works very well. Typical Nokia. Not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying, well, I guess I was saying it's bad. I'd like to see it a little sleeker. That's just me. Earbuds included. I did not try these out because I never try out the earbuds that come with these devices because I use high quality earphones because I like to test out the music. With high quality earphones, the phone sounds great as a music player. Definitely can stand in for your iPod or MP3 player. Hooked it up to the home stereo, sounded good. Hooked it up to the car stereo, sounded good. Comes with a little cleaning cloth as well. And you've got, your software, you can hook it up to the OV, online services, all that stuff. So, all in all, I think you're getting the point. What I'm saying is that the N97 is an incremental upgrade to the current Symbian S-Series line of devices, the N-Series line of devices. I don't think it's worthy of the title of flagship phone for the world's premier maker of mobile devices. I don't think it's worthy of the title of flagship mobile computer for the N series, which Nokia refers to as mobile computers. Yeah, it is a mobile computer. Yeah, it does do multitasking, do all these different things, etc., etc. But it's just not, to me, as good as other modern offerings at the super elite, top of the line smartphone space. It's just not quite there. That being said, you can do a ton of stuff with this. It does it all pretty well in terms of function. For me, the form and the style, not as good as it can or should be. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Nokia comes up with next. This is, really feels like more of a stopgap device. Waiting to see, is it going to be the Symbian Foundation OS? Is it going to be their Linux-based Mamio platform? This new deal with Intel and rumors about some non-Symbian smartphones coming out of that partnership. It remains to be seen. I would love to see what Nokia could do with a operating system that was engineered for the touch experience from the ground up and some better hardware choices. So overall, if you're a Symbian fan and you've been wanting to try the N97 out, I'm not saying don't go do it. If you have the money, or if you can borrow one from somebody, or if it's available, on a subsidized contract where you live, it's worth checking out if you're already a Symbian fan. If you are looking for the best smartphone experience out there, platform aside, this is not it. I would recommend something like a Touch Pro 2, a Touch Diamond 2, a Palm Pre, an iPhone, before I would recommend, even for a Symbian phone, if you don't need the keyboard, I would look at the Omnia HD before I looked at the N97 myself. Alright, so there you go. Please chime in. I know the Symbian fans, are going to have something to say, so let her rip. Thanks again to Nokia for loaning us the N97. I'm Noah from PhoneDog.com. Much more on this phone, all the other new phones, Android. Oh yeah, that was the other one. The HTC Hero for Android I think is definitely worth a look as well as a contender for the title of best smartphone in the world. That being said, all the stuff, Android, Symbian, Windows Mobile, iPhone, WebOS, and all those crazy, non-smartphones that can do so much these days. We have it all for you over on PhoneDog.com, so check it out. Till next time, thanks for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.